Hey guys, with the new Guild v Guild season, we were introduced with a new Demon Soldier, and I already have him. You can get about 5 shards in every chest after a Guild v Guild match, and I was lucky enough to get it twice, so now I have the new Demon Soldier, and he's very, very interesting. So I figured I would go over him for you guys today. I want to go over, first of all, what he is, showcase what he does, and then I want to show kind of an application and then my final thoughts. So to start off, let's go over what he actually does, because it's a demon soldier called the Frozen Drifter. Little bit weird of a unit, has relatively high physical damage, but it's also fragile, aka squishy as hell, with a low chance of inflicting Winter's Bite. Winter's Bite, if you guys remember, is what the Yimmerit boss in the anniversary event stages did, where essentially it freezes you and then you essentially don't have any block anymore. And it's a really, really strong debuff. But I'm gonna go into why it doesn't really work that much on this kit in a second. To go over, we have the skills. The basic attack is launches a melee physical attack with a 12% chance of inflicting Winter's Bite when attacking. Winter's Bite needs a couple stacks, by the way, guys. It needs about like 3 stacks, so you have to get this 12% chance each time. Luckily, this does deploy at least 2, and you can place it twice, so you can have 4 on the field, which is ample chances, but you still have to get those chances multiple times. So keep that in mind. Then we have the passive, which is essentially Mark of Frostburn, and it basically says he lives in ice fields and he receives shorter freezing while also receiving increased continuous damage. So if he gets like burned or something, he's going to take more damage, you know, versus if he gets frozen, he's going to get affected a lot less. Now his level 5 is pretty solid, which is every 4 basic attacks, reduces attack interval by 25%, up to 50%. This effect disappears when switching targets or when no basic attack is launched within 6 seconds. So essentially what this is it makes him attack almost twice as fast once he does 4 basic attacks and then 4 more. He gets brought down to about half. And this is a really good kind of passive to get. Personally, I think this should have been added just like in his base kit because he doesn't do that many attacks, which I'll show in a second. But that's beyond the point. Now the energy is 4. 4 is a pretty middle of the road thing. That's what most of the units have. Quantity 2, you can place every demon soldier twice, so essentially 4 total, but 2 on each deployment. There is no deployment limit. So basically, as soon as you get the cost, you can place him down. I don't think anyone really has that deployment limit. But then he has A attack, A HP, C defense, C magic resistance, and B speed. So pretty mediocre stats overall. You're never going to use him as an attacker. His HP, he's really brittle because of his defense, and then his speed is pretty mid. So overall base stats kind of suck. You're only ever going to use him for this Winter's Bite. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go and test him. I forgot to say this until after the video was done, but make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more Guild v Guild, because it helps me out a ton. Okay, bye. And test him. I'm going to test him on a Laurel's defense. Now, bear with me here because I can't get a proper like testing setup purely because it is not a week where, or it is not the time period where you can actually change your defense. So I had to find someone who had a fairly manageable defense, get them to kind of set it up properly, or kind of set it in a way that I could showcase the skills, and then we're going to go over an actual like application right after. But I just want to show you guys what it does. So first of all, some things to note is one, no one on this defense is geared except for Torador and Carnelian. Arrogance is not geared, Hatsud is not geared, Dahlia is not geared. If any single person is geared, this guy will die, and I will not get him to work. That's just how it is. Like, I tried it, Arrogance was barely geared, they kept dying. Like, I couldn't get them to work, so everyone had to be ungeared. So just keep that in mind, that squishy as hell. And also keep in mind that the BP affiliation is really high. So this Uridan has about 110k BP, very, very high affiliation there, and he should be able to live against an ungeared defense with a very, very high BP. but you'll see what he does. So first of all, because no one is geared, I'm just gonna wait a bit for arrogance to go down, and then I'm gonna show off what he does. So arrogance gonna get his ult, because even an ungeared arrogance can do a lot of ult damage. Then we're gonna do 4 of the frost guys, and you're just gonna see what happens, right? So Dahlia is gonna slow them a little bit, but overall it shouldn't really matter that much. As you can see, no damage has been taken, and we're just gonna see what happens. So they're gonna hit Torador a bunch, and as you can see, if we get good RNG, I don't know why they made it RNG, but it is RNG. If we get RNG, you see that the snowflake will come up. And then when the snowflake gets 2 stacks, not 3, 2 stacks, I should have said 2 before, then they lose all of their block, and essentially they are no longer a tank, right? But even the ungeared defense still kind of chipped away at its HP for an 110k affiliation, which is kind of crazy. But that's besides the point. Essentially, what you use them for is you go in, you get rid of the block, and then you can go past it. And that is their entire purpose, right? Now let's try it on like an actual defense. I'm going to try it against my good friend Lyle's account. Lyle right here has one of the few defenses that looks like this in our guild, which is a double tank defense. It's a very solid defense to use. It is geared. It's not geared perfectly. It was like 420 kbp when I was testing it earlier, but apparently it's not anymore. But this is the team I was using, and I just want to show you guys what happens if you swarm it. And we're just going to see what happens. So keep in mind, my BP is pretty high. This is not a fully geared defense, but it is still a good reference. And we're going to wait for Arrogance to get his ult off again, because once again, Arrogance ult is ridiculously overpowered, as always. So we're going to wait a bit. You know, I'm going to put one of these guys down, and then we'll just see what happens. I should have placed them earlier, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to place down our frost guys. We're going to put down a healer. This is just me spitballing right now. It realistically doesn't really matter what you do for testing purposes. But as you can see, these guys are going to come in, and the hopes is that they are going to freeze Baron, and then we're going to be able to go through. So we have 1 stack here, 2 stacks. And as you can see, they're all slipping through and getting to Torador. And then if they get another stack off, hypothetically, then everyone will be able to go even further. But because everyone kind of made it in, you're able to kind of trickle through. And although we don't have that many units on the field and all of that stuff, we can still, you know, do it. And then you just clog up the block and you go through, right? This is not the perfect example because I forgot to place things properly, but you kind of get the idea, right? Let me just show you one more time. This time with an actual attack, because I will actually be paying attention to what I am doing instead of commentating. But you get the idea, right? So here, we're going to place them down at 10. We're going to place all of those guys. Then I'm going to place the Necro. It is good to do double Necros, but I don't really feel like it. And now we're going to be doing a Mage and just show it off. Once again, if they clog up the block, it will be good. But if they don't, then it kind of causes issues. As you can see, they each have a stack, and we're just waiting for them to actually get frozen, but they're not freezing anyone. And that is the main issue that these guys kind of have, is even if you do it right, you're still going to be faced with RNG every single time. You're never going to be free from the RNG from these guys. They're squishy, they die really easy, and they're RNG dependent. So sometimes you're just going to get the block eaten up on like 2 different tanks, and then you're just going to slip through and beat any defense, right? Like, as long as they reach the enemies, then you've won. Or what's going to happen is they're not going to do anything, and because they have such low base stats in terms of HP and attack, and all they have is a freeze, what's going to happen essentially is they're going to do nothing, and they're just a waste of a slot. Right? So the reason why I don't really think they're that good or game changing is purely because of their RNG factor. I know this is not the best test I could do. Once again, I am kind of limited by having no way to set defenses right now, so I have to go off of pre-existing ones. But like I said, the RNG is the bad part, right? which is why I would have loved for them to have had faster attacks, because it would have actually made them good. Now, if we have some front loaded defenses, if I can find one in my guild, then you could probably use them on a front facing defense, which has like an exposed tank, and it has like only one tank. Then I could definitely see some uses there. Let me just quickly look if I can find something good. Like this, for example, right? What we're gonna do here is we are going to try to clog up some of this block if we can, and then we are going to go through it. You know how it is. I'm not really going to set the defense that much, but you're just going to see what happens here. Of course, it affiliated everything wrong, because of course it did, so I have to manually affiliate. So let's just go in. We're going to try to freeze Brokir. He might be immune to freeze. If he is, then that's a bit rough. But what we're going to do here, essentially, is we are going to put down our tank. We're going to bait out the alts, and then we are going to put these guys in. Hopefully clog up Brokir, and then we're going to go through, kill Valk, and then we're going to go through. And I think this is the best kind of setup to use these guys, because when there's only one tank, they definitely get a lot of value. But keep in mind that you can't do this against like an Ardea or a Dahlia or anything, because they're just going to freaking die. Right? So here, they go through. If we get good RNG here, then it's going to be perfect. We're not getting good RNG, even though there's 3 on him. We only need 1 more freeze. It's 12% chance each hit. We're essentially just swarming it like we would on a normal defense, because no one is geared, once again, because it is not Guild season. But you see the point, right? If they freeze, they're really strong. But that's a really, really big if, and they just won't freeze half the time, because they're just like, nah, I did half of a freeze. I'm not going to do the other half. It's whatever. And then they're just hitting it relentlessly and not doing anything, right? So then they're essentially just a weak base stat thing that you're using for the sake of using them. So overall, just they don't give me a very strong impression of being very meta, but I could see some uses. But in Guild v Guild, RNG is something you want to stray away from. The best defenses are defenses that are RNG based, aka the attacker has a coin flip to beat them. Which is why like Ajax A3, Ajax A5 is so good in high levels, is because it's RNG whether or not you beat them, because they just have a chance to completely screw you over, right? But this is the opposite way. This is, as the attacker, you're adding more RNG to your fight to kind of say, hey, I might not win this, and this is why, because I'm not leaving it up to certainty, I'm leaving it up to chance, and that is why I don't really like them. But obviously, lots of fun to use from what I can see. I definitely had fun testing them out. While I don't think they are the most amazing unit ever, it is definitely a cool idea, and I do like them being added. And I also like that they are not broken. Like when the Fool got introduced and was used by literally everyone, I was like, rip me, because I didn't have any time to grind the Fool. But these guys, I mean, they're like RNG to get, and then when you get them, you're like, they're okay. You can kind of see their uses. If anyone finds some good niche uses, definitely tell me. But I just think they're a bit too limited beyond being level 5, which obviously basically no one is going to get, because they are random and obtained through the guild chest. So keep that in mind. I keep trying to scroll down, but the client is not letting me. So just let me know your guys' thoughts. I definitely think this guy was better as a chest reward, but I mean, did I not test it right? Did I test it right? Are you guys excited to use it? It is definitely a very, very cool enemy. Definitely cool design. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. If you want more Guild v Guild content, tell me, and I will try. The Guild v Guild is actually really interesting right now, and I'm having a lot more fun with it after the changes. So I would definitely love to give some Guild v Guild content to you guys. So anyways, that's about it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and Destined signing out.